estate, they say it's not about what you know, but who you know. And in this Proximity podcast, we have a no BS approach. We're bringing you industry leaders with real solutions and real actionable items you can implement for your real estate business. Grab a pen and paper and listen in while we get up close and personal with some of the best in the biz.
Welcome to the Proximity Podcast. I am your host, Nathan Daniel, and this is officially the first episode, and I'm right here next to this guy. Often that hears, you're a lot taller than I thought you were. Mr. Jake Dixon, the co-host of the Proximity Podcast. Man, let's go. Let's do this. You ready?
Yeah, it's about time, man. We've had a lot of requests to start a podcast here, and without further ado, here it is. And you're right. If I had $1 for every time somebody told me, "Gosh, you're a lot taller than I thought you were," I would be a rich man. But same is true with you, Nathan. You're not exactly short either. So,
and no, it's true. I'm not as tall as you, just a few inches shorter. But I mean, I'm telling you, like it's a thing. Like Zoom. It's a real thing. So it's always fun though, because they come up and they're like, hey, whoa, like you're tall. Yeah, it is. So anyways, well, we're excited. We're excited to have you here listening today. And this is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a great podcast. I'm really excited about it. We have been trying to put it on for a little while and things kept getting in the way. And we're like, we can't let anything else get in the way at this point. It's time. Let's kick this off. So let's talk about what is the Proximity Podcast. So, Jake and I kind of go back and forth a little bit on like, what do we want to call this? What does it mean? Like, what do we want to talk about? And do we want to strictly stick with brokers? And I know we deal with a lot of brokers and stuff. And I know we work with a lot of agents. And I think we landed on proximity. And I think the reason is it's all about like, you've heard the term, right, Jake, that your net worth is direct proportion to your network. And we're in a world now that allows us to get very close to people that we normally wouldn't. So we're like, hey, let's make sure that we bring some people together. What if we brought some people together in a format that could allow people to really connect with others? Ask some fun questions, ask some tough questions, and help people really build their network and get closer in proximity. There it is. There you go. So that's kind of what proximity is all about, right? We're going to be bringing on some guests every once in a while, and we're going to be talking about some relevant topics that's going on in today's industry, right? In today's real estate industry. And then we're also going to be, hopefully rolling out an episode a week. You may get some fun stuff where Jake and I are just hashing it out, going back and forth and stuff. And we want to be talking about some great topics moving on. So we hope that you like this. We're going to be, like I said, we're going to be having fun. And that's the whole point of all this, right, Jake, is to have fun.
Absolutely. No, I think you nailed it. And that's really what we want this to be like, is almost like bringing ourselves to your kitchen table, or whether you've got a university on wheels and you listen to the podcast such as this while you're driving from appointment to appointment. We just want to make sure it's really conversational. It's very real and raw. It's not going to be one of those completely, professional productions. And that's on purpose, because generally right over Nathan's shoulder, it's be real. And I know he stands for that, as do we here at the Locker Room. And just to piggyback off what you were saying of how we landed on Proximity Podcast, a great friend of mine, fellow coach also, I picked this up from him, and he said something along the lines of this analogy where, why do people pay literally thousands of dollars to go to the Super Bowl, to sit on the 50-yard line, 10 rows deep? Why do they do that? Well, because there's a difference. You're in closer proximity to the game, to the players, the real life action, versus sitting for free on your couch watching the game, eating Cheetos. Okay. So it's kind of logical to think that people actually pay for proximity. Now, there is no compensation received by this, but the point is, Nathan and I, we're going to talk about some really real things, and we are going to bring some guests on here that like, and trust, and probably have seen as industry titans out there, and bring them right here up close and personal, and that's what we're all about. So if you're wondering, well, is this for me? Who the heck is this for? What can I expect to get out of this? This is for business-minded real estate professionals. I just want to put that out there. These are episodes that are going to be for people who really have a desire to grow personally and professionally. They are all about personal growth. They have an open mind and they value learning from other people, knowing that others have walked before them and maybe left some breadcrumb trails that we're going to expose for you to follow if it works in your business. And frankly, sometimes the best way to answer those questions of, well, is this for me? Who is this for? Here's who it's not for. If this is you, we love you. We're here for you in other ways, but this is not for people who are closed-minded. This is not for people who are not receptive to learning from others because they, quote unquote, know it all. So if that is you, there's plenty of other avenues, I'm sure, or podcasts out there, but we're going to be real. We're going to be very transparent and vulnerable. A lot of times I have a suspicion. And a lot of times we're probably going to get on rants and soapbox things, and it may not always be the most popular of opinions, but hey, it makes for good reality TV, doesn't it? So
Absolutely.
That's what we've got in store for y'all.
Yeah, we were talking about some future episodes recently, and one of them is going to be very controversial. So I'm excited to have that conversation. So tune in for that. Make sure, whether you're on YouTube, whether it's on Facebook, any of the social medias, make sure you follow us there or subscribe on Apple, Spotify, any one of those places that you're listening to on audio. We greatly appreciate it. We greatly appreciate it. So, one thing I want to talk about too is how often we're going to coming out with these. Our goal is to come out with at least one episode a week. We're going to be dropping hopefully at least one episode a week. And so just be kind of watching for those along the way. So, if you hit the subscribe button, you'll get the alert and say, hey, there's another episode. So do that. So I also want to talk about a promise that Jake and I want to make. So can I go there, Jake? Is that okay?
I think you should go there. What is our proximity promise to our listeners and viewers here, Nathan?
We're going to call this the proximity promise. And, when we were going back and forth, I was thinking about what is the proximity promise? And for me, what I really think it boils down to is, I know, Jake, you have this man, I don't know if you came up with this or whatever, but I know you have this idea, this philosophy of what's called your chicken list. Right? Your chicken list.
Yeah.
And so what is the chicken list? Tell us what the chicken list is.
So the chicken list, if you're not familiar with it, or essentially people that, man, you want to get to know them. You would love to be in their inner circles. You would love to approach them, but you're just scared to, for many times because of their quote unquote success or a title that they carry. It's just those people, and you know who they are in your own life, that you should reach out to them, and yet something is preventing you from doing so because they're hugely successful, influential, or respected out there, and it's a little intimidating for you to reach out to them.
Yeah. So we're gonna do our best to reach out to those people. So what we want to do is not only it's on our chicken list, like who we want to get closer to as well, but we want to hear from you. We want to hear from our listeners, and we want to know who's on your chicken list, right? If there's somebody that you really want to hear in this industry, or maybe you're connected to somebody that you think would bring value to the audience, to the industry as a whole, that we could really dive into and get connected with, we want to hear about that. And we want to make sure that we bring that information to you to be able to interview. But we also want to hear from you. Like, as far as questions that you have, please feel free to submit those. But Jake and I would love to go back and forth on that. I don't know, Jake, maybe we even bring a couple people on every once in a while to ask their questions live. I think that'd be a fun little episode that we could possibly do.
I think it would be as well. I think this is what we're trying to get across is it's a podcast by the people and for the people,
Right.
It's user generated content. So real life concerns, challenges, things that you guys want to know, submit those in. And like Nathan is saying, as well as anyone that you would love to see and hear from on this podcast. It's all about the 6 degrees of separation. Everybody knows somebody that knows somebody, and we'll work tirelessly to get those folks on here.
Yeah, that's right. That is right. Well, I know when you were talking about proximity just a second ago, and you were talking about all that, like I was sitting there thinking, I was like, you know what? Like, have you ever flown first class on an airline?
Like once or twice, yes.
Yeah. So I got to was it back in September? Like we were going to a conference and stuff, and they took care of us. They flew us out there and all that kind of stuff. And it was first class. And I'd never flown first class in my life. So and all of a sudden I'm up there and they walk up and, hello, Mr. Daniel, like all this kind of stuff. And it was like quite an experience. And we can go down that road later. But one thing that I realized is one of my heroes as a kid was sitting right next to me. And I'm going, hold the phone. Like if I'd have been like, if I'd have booked this and just gone to the back, sit in the coach or whatever the section is, and like all of a sudden I'm sitting here going in first class. I'm like, whoa, like you said, the Super Bowl. I was sitting up front and right next to me, wrestling fan as a kid growing up, maybe still to this day, a little bit of a wrestling fan, but JR, like announcer extraordinaire. And I'm going, he's just sitting right there, got his black cowboy hat and everything. I was like, whoa. And I would have never got to experience that if I hadn't have been in proximity to him. So it was awesome. So anyways, that reminded me of that. So
well, your story's better than mine because last time, one of the few times I've ever flown first class, it was relatively recent. I didn't even know you got free drinks. Like, I mean, like adult beverage drinks.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
Yeah.
And so everybody around me orders it, and I didn't see anybody pulling out their credit card. And I remember later talking to my wife. I'm like, and she's like, "Yeah, no, that's a thing. You can just basically get whatever you want." I'm like, "Oh, well, now I know. Next time it'll be different." So.
Next time, So as soon as they land and you get that pre-flight drink,
yes.
well, orange juice or something else. But anyways,
yeah. Well, we've hopefully that gives the audience a little bit more clarity on what they can expect and what this podcast is all about, and frankly, what the inspiration was for us to do this, because we're both pretty busy guys. Like everybody out there is busy. I understand that. And yet it's really about giving value to the industry that has served us so well and bringing people that maybe you otherwise would have had to pay big ticket items to go to that conference or convention, or you maybe never have even had a chance to get into their inner circles. And if we can bring them to your front doorstep, into your car, into your ears, then that's what we're going to do here through the podcast. So I think it would be appropriate here, given that this is our first episode, to kind of get to know us a little bit. So can I turn the table and ask you a few questions, Mr. Nathan Daniel?
Ooh, yeah, put me on the spot. Here we go.
Now, none of this was not rehearsed, right? So you have no idea. I'm going to take it easy on you for today.
Okay. All right.
But, be succinct and yet as thorough as you need to be here. So just give us a little bit of insight around what your professional background is, not what you're doing today, but a little bit leading up till what makes you valid and credible, and why people should want to listen to you.
Oh, wow. How far back do we want to go? Man. Okay. So I'll do my best to get the express version of this. So I'm a young entrepreneur at heart. Had big goals growing up, like most of us do. And I actually started my first business when I was 14 years old, and doing some work with my uncle that turned into a little bit more, and just got the bug. I knew I wanted to be successful according to my definition of success. And, like most young boys at, preteens, you want the sports cars, you want all the big houses and all that kind of stuff. I wanted those things, but I wanted some other stuff. And so I had this vision of what success looked like for me. But going through high school, I was like the jack of all trades. I had like 20 jobs going through high school, but I always kept gravitate back to real estate. And as I kind of got out into the world, graduated, took on a couple jobs and stuff in the tech industry, got to have some amazing experience there. Traveled all around the world and the country, skyscrapers in Chicago's, all the way down to Dallas and stuff, but lived in that tech space for a while. So I really love the technology space, and saw a trend in the industry started going down about 2008. And I was like, you know what, go back to real estate. So in 2009, started in Dallas, got my real estate license, really never looked back. Have an amazing wife who supported me in that decision. And, just like most agents, it took me about 6 months to really get off the ground and get my first closing. Had a couple of small deals like leases and stuff that got me through, but I just got the bug and took off. Never looked back. A couple of years in, started a real estate team, had a really good success with online lead generation. And I think my biggest month I ever had, I had like 215,000 hits to my website, and 1,000 leads came in that month. And here I was by myself, just burning the phones all day long, no relationships. And I had people asking me how I was doing it. And so I started teaching in several real estate offices, and found a need in the industry. So started another tech company. And we went coast to coast in about 6 months in real estate offices and supporting agents in that tech tech launch, and instead of like that ramp up phase of looking good and being right, like we took care of all that. So you just go out and sell houses. And then did that for a while, stepped into a CEO role for a very large firm. Did that for about 5 years in that role. And then woke up one day. We can talk about that story a whole nother day, but woke up one day, realized I was walking somebody else's path and not my own, and said, it's time. I got to get out. And mission was laid on my heart to impact the lives of thousands of people. And now look what we're doing. So we get to do this every single day, and jumped into coaching, wrote a book, actually launched a podcast a couple of years ago called the Broker to Broker podcast, and just been having fun since, I don't know, I was born, but yeah.
And
so that's the express version.
No, that's great. And you helped grow it was a billion, correct? Billion with a B, $1 billion producing.
Yeah. So in that role, we were about 175 agents whenever I stepped in, and then grew it to right at 300 agents. And we were so close. Like it was like $968 million. So, I like to say $1 billion, but if we're being technical, so sounds pretty good. So, and yeah, that's whenever, when I was in that CEO role. So we were doing about $1 billion in production and volume. So
cool. Well, so if that's not reason enough for somebody on here to want to follow and continue to plug in and learn from your experiences and insights there, catch us up to speed briefly on what are you doing now, and what are your, I would say, primary roles or responsibilities now?
Yeah. So, stepped out of that CEO role in 2019. It was end of June 2019, and Jake, you and I had known each other for a couple years and gone back and forth and stuff. And it was like, I think you were getting on a cruise or either getting off a cruise whenever I connected with you, and I was like, dude, it's time. Let's go. Let's do this. And so, partnered up with you in the locker room, and just decided to come alongside you guys and try to figure out where I was going and how I was going to make this impact. And so stepped into the coaching world, coached several agents, worked with several broker owners, eventually started as a director of growth with Locker Room, ended up becoming and coaching all the coaches, which was a blast. And I did that for several years. Several years. And now I'm the director of growth here at Locker Room. And the fun thing that I get to do is kind of this, like I get to have these conversations like every single day, and it's really the proximity promise, right? One thing that we're doing a little bit different is like in our groups that we run. If you join the group, you're probably going to be hearing from me or somebody on the team, and it is going to be a real conversation, like no agenda. We're really here to help you. I know one thing that we're doing right now, I don't know if this is going to be in the future, but like right now, we're helping people find their next 6-figure focus in these calls. And so I get to do that every single day and make those connections and just welcome people into our world. I guess you can think of me as like that church greeter that's like out front right now. And I just get to just have fun, have great conversations every day, and just really help us grow and help everybody around us grow that's in our community.
I love it. Okay, I've got a couple more for you, if that's okay.
Let's go.
So if I kind of alluded to it a little earlier, but if there was a motto or maybe a theme that you chose to live by, what would that be and why?
Oh, 100% it's be you and be real. 100% it's be you and be real. I know everybody that knows me that's really close to me. It's everywhere. I've got shirts. I've got I'm literally wearing a hat right now with the it's it. And I ask myself a lot. I'm actually writing a talk about this right now, and I've been letting it stew for the last couple of years. And I guess that's another thing we can get back to later on how I came up with that. But I got to a point where I realized I was walking somebody else's path and not my own. And no fault of theirs at all. Like they're doing their thing, and that it was all on me. And I just woke up one day and I was like, man, it's not fun. It's not fun. And so I made a promise to myself and had one of those spiritual moments where kind of got slapped over the forehead. And I was like, man, I've been given everything that I need as long as I'm myself. If I live authentically to myself and to everybody, and encourage everybody around me to do the exact same thing, that's it. So I made this sign. I do a little woodworking and that kind of stuff. And so I actually made this sign that I hang up here. And a lot of times in my office, I'm going to switch the background up so everybody could see us a little bit. But, this sign hangs up in my office, and it's a notice to everybody else, but it's also just a reminder to me every single day, just to, in my conversations like this, be myself.
That's
Be
right.
unapologetically me.
That's right. Well, I think that's where a lot of the folks that have, run in our circles and interact with us on a regular basis, Nathan, it's, and hopefully for the listeners as well, we hear often how it's just a breath of fresh air, and we don't try to fake it till we make it. We're not somebody that just puts on a face to try and impress them and only show the highlight reel. Like, we're real. We'll talk about the good, bad, the ugly, and I think we've all adopted that motto of yours that you brought into the locker room of be you, be real. And it's just, it's been great. You've impacted a lot of us here internally. So
that's awesome. I appreciate that.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. So what do you see as being the most, or rather what you see most real estate professionals being challenged by or getting wrong right now? Is there anything that stands out as what most get wrong or what most are being challenged by?
Being challenged by, I think, right off my gut, what I would say people are being challenged with is what to do. They don't know what to do. There's so many things. I mean, I know a couple years ago, obviously we're all locked down, all this other kind of stuff. And it like became this thing of like the side hustle and all this other stuff. And I think there's so much information out there that it's very distracting. And somebody who has squirrel syndrome and has dealt with that a long time, it can be distracting, which it actually is it's a hindrance against production and productivity. And actually for the reason that people get into this is that finance freedom and flexibility. And at the end of the day, I think that can be the biggest challenge for people. And just know there is hope. There is hope with that. Like keep it simple. It doesn't have to be hard, even though there are hundreds of different ways to do real estate. Find your way. Be you and be real. Find your way to do it, and keep it simple as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And so that you can show up consistently. So that's where I would say is just a lot of distractions with all the tech and, AI and all the different things that come out just to distract us. Just be yourself, have great conversations, and do that every single day.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of noise is what I hear you saying. And I would argue back, and I know this is your belief as well, like people know what to do, but what I think you're really saying is it confuses them or it makes them second guess what they already know. So they squirrel out instead of just sticking with their thing, their be real method for long enough to work for them.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, and I'll share this too. Like, a big part of me is legacy and impact, right? I know I've been called to make a difference in the lives of thousands of people. Well, that's an impact, right? And at the end of the day, I think if we allow ourselves to be scrolling out too much, if we get distracted too much and we don't run a play long enough, then we're actually robbing others of that potential impact we can have on them. Whether you're a broker dealing with the agents, whether it's agents with clients, right? It doesn't matter, with vendors, whoever it is, if you're going to decide to do something, give it a shot and really see what can happen with it. And don't quit before you actually see the fruits of your labor.
Sure. Well, I've got one more and then just a quick one and I'll be done here. So what excites you the most about the future?
Ooh, what excites me the most about the future? Endless possibilities. I said this and people thought I was nuts and they were challenging me. And I know there's a bunch of stuff going around on the socials, but I honestly, right now it's 2023 and I came into this year saying it's going to be the best year ever. And I think what excites me about the most, like 2023 is the best year ever. Why? Because I'm alive. You're alive. Like we're here. Right. And there's nothing, like, I don't care what's going on, as long as you go into it with a mindset of like, everything's going to be okay. Hey, the future is what we want to make it. So I think that's what excites me is just,
sounds like you're leading with faith over fear. And we're a product of our choices, not a product of our environments. And you have decided to take a stance for your greatness, your family's greatness. And it's life is what you choose to make it, right?
That's right. That is absolutely right.
Cool. All right. My last one real quick is it's always hard. It's like, what's your favorite book? So I'm not going to say what's your necessarily your favorite book, but is there a book right here, right now in this, everything that's been going on that really stands out to you the most that might be a favorite?
Holy moly, man. That's a big question because we've got lists of them. Let me see. So many that have changed my world. Let's see here. I love Fans First. I know we read Fans First by Jesse Cole. There's some other ones too. And it's off the top of my head. Oh my gosh. Who Not How? Holy cow, that was a big one for me. Like I read that in one setting on an airplane going to a conference, and it was I downloaded it audio, had it highlighter, and on a plane, I sat there and read that just nonstop, did not put it down. So that one is a really, really big one for me.
So Who Not How and Fans First.
Fans First, yeah.
Cool.
As a matter of fact, I think they're both yellow covered books. So
Yeah, I see Fans First right behind you there, I think.
Fans First is right here, and then Libraries down here. So yeah, those are two
awesome,
pretty impactful books. So
well, there's a little bit about Nathan Daniel, and we'll certainly uncover a whole lot more as we go along here. So thanks for entertaining a few of my questions there.
Absolutely, man. And what I would like to do is pivot just a little bit. And I know we had planned on going about and like turning the script and actually going to interview you. But here's what I want to do. Like the one thing we also, and I didn't mention this earlier, I want to keep these things short and concise. Now, don't get me wrong. There may be some episodes where we have guests on that they may take a full hour because the content is so good and we're really deep with information. But you know, I know one thing in my previous podcasts and things that I've done, I think there's value in less than 30 minutes, right? Less than 30 minutes. You can hit it on time and a half or 2x, you know, between appointments or on your lunch break or something like that. You can catch an episode in less than 15 minutes if you're on 2x. And that's what I would love to do is just keep to that promise and prep you if it is going to be a longer episode. But if you're cool with that, maybe next episode, we'll turn the script and we'll find out a little bit about you, Jake.
We got plenty of time. We're not going anywhere. So
all right, cool.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, hey, that's all we've got today. So remember, if you like this, if follow along, you know, again, on social media, YouTube, subscribe there on any of the social media channels. And also, of course, on any of your Spotify, Apple, any of those places. But we'd love to have you join the community, join the proximity, and, you know, join on the promise. And we'd love to hear from you. So feel free to reach out to either one of us. So, all right. So Jake and I have kind of gone back and forth on how we want to end these episodes. And I think it's just fair that we have to end it in our way. So I'm going to end it this way today, Jake, and maybe we can flip it up a little bit. I love dad jokes. I am a proud dad. Right now, Callan just turned 6. That's my son. And oh my gosh. So I'm going to end today with a dad joke if you're cool with that.
Do it. I knew this was coming.
It's coming. You knew it was coming. So, all right. Why did the bunny go to the hospital? This one is for our very own coach, Miss Mary Lou Dingman.
I don't know.
Because he needed a operation.
It's pretty bad, like most of them. But
yeah, like most dad jokes. Anyways, shout out to Mary Lou for that one. Anyways, that was that was the dad joke of the day. So, hey, thank you for tuning in to the Proximity Real Estate Podcast. Let's go.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Proximity Podcast. We hope you'll implement the real solutions and real action items into your real estate business. Be sure and subscribe to get updates on new episodes and join us on Facebook where industry professionals go to collaborate. Don't forget to hit us with your feedback and likes. We'd love to hear from our raving fans. Until next time.